EVTN News, the number one news network on YouTube. At least that's how we identify. And thanks for joining me at a slightly later time. I was mowing grass, and so I'm ready for a little bit of discussion here. Also, hopefully you enjoy some of the book reviews that I've been doing. The book reviews, uh, you notice I've been posting less videos. Well, I've been reading more books. So, uh, for me, it's been great. Not necessarily the part where I'm not on YouTube as much, but the great part is having more time to read books. So, anyway, the Pontifical Academy of Life director, he had some interesting comments. Um, we'll put Life Pontifical Academy of Life. We'll put that in quotes. Fabrizio Mastrofini, a spokesperson for the Pontifical Academy for Life, referring to the tragic killing of at least 19 children and 2 adults during the Texas rampage, told Crux that a more human society is needed. He said, "The utopia of Christianity is a society where weapons are no longer used, or at least where they are used increasingly less." So he's talking about utopia, and um, who else talks about utopia is the communists. A more human society. What about a more divine society? Shouldn't we be reaching out to God more? I don't know. This guy is a spokesperson for the Pontifical Academy for Life, but on this YouTube channel, um, uh, where do they get these guys? Who recommends them? President G? All right, Catholic News Agency had a really interesting article. If you kind of read in depth, see what they have to say here. The consistory for the creation of cardinals on August 27th is a ceremony that seems to mark the end of a pontificate, though that end might be long in coming. Pope Francis also summoned all cardinals to take part in another consistory on August 29th and 30th, more on that later, to discuss the new Vatican Constitution. Such a broad discussion among cardinals hasn't taken place for 7 years, and the Pope chose to convene the consistory in August, a non-traditional date. There is almost, this is from Catholic News Agency again, there is almost a sense of inevitability to the new consistory for the creation of cardinals. There is a widespread perception in Rome that this will be Pope Francis's last, and therefore he wants to set things straight. So that would explain why he went even more radical than before. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to the Cardinals whenever Supich was named a Cardinal, but were people outraged at it like McElroy? Because McElroy has been on record spewing heresy. They said some observers even speculate that Pope Francis could end the August 29th to 30th gathering with cardinals by announcing his resignation. That would certainly be a striking gesture, sending the message that once one's mandate is completed and Pope Francis' mandate is above all curial reform, then one may leave office. Let's take a little bit more of a look into this. Pope Francis has not been walking very well at all. Um, he certainly has pain in his knees and his back. No terminal illness. Let me say it this way: there's no proven terminal illness. Some people speculate that there is, and that's why he's not walking as well. I don't know. Uh, there's also speculation that he would not resign as long as Benedict is still Pope, and I think that Pope Francis is going to do what he wants to do. He's shown that without regards to tradition or even doctrine, and so I don't know. I don't think he will. I don't think he'll resign, and I don't think he'll ever resign. Now, what you could look increasingly for, and this is something from Brett the Fog, I guess. Give him credit for this, but he'll call it the Francis bot. Francis has maybe not such great health, then he's not going to be talking. Someone else will be speaking for him. Kind of like with JP2, and now with Benedict. And even, I think, Pius XII, he had someone speaking for him as well, because I think he was sick for the last few years of his pontificate, Pius XII, so he had someone else kind of speaking for him. So that it happens, and hopefully when you have someone speaking for you, they're Catholic. But can't say necessarily that's been the case in the last century. All right, so I did see something somewhere about, I believe the FBI tipped off the USCCB that there may be some credible threats to their churches once the Supreme Court decision comes out. Well, there was a Brooklyn Tabernacle that was already stolen. Tabernacle of St. Augustine Church in Brooklyn, New York was ripped from the altar and stolen. The consecrated hosts were scattered all over the altar and the floor. Father Frank Tumino discovered the crime on last Saturday afternoon, not this past Saturday, but the previous one. The tabernacle is made of 18-karat gold with jewels. It is worth $2 million. The burglars cut the steel cabinet covering the tabernacle. The church was fitted with security cameras, which were shut down by the criminals. The Brooklyn Diocese informed that the statues of angels on either side of the tabernacle were decapitated and destroyed. So it wasn't just a crime to steal a very valuable tabernacle with gold. It wasn't just that. It was probably demonically inspired, considering that the statues were smashed. Of course, two motives, get some money, and was a $2 million tabernacle. I'd like $2 million, but I'm not going to steal a tabernacle. All right, you've heard about German Bishop Georg Batzing. Well, he gave communion to the Protestant politician Thomas de Maizière on May 29th. The occasion was Stuttgart's Catholic-Tag, a festival-like gathering organized by Catholic laity. I think last week I mentioned something about that. I think there was a Mohammedan politician who received communion, so they didn't really pay attention to. They didn't really not pay attention. They didn't really care who they were giving communion to, I guess, is what seems to be the case. All right, let's talk about Word on Fire. There were resignations at Word on Fire. Now, this is from the Distorter, so I mean, you can't. Sometimes they have some information that's accurate, but you can't. There's so much I'm sorry. There's so much spin from the Distorter that you can't always tell that they're telling the truth. At least half a dozen Word on Fire employees in recent months have resigned, so that's 6. They've submitted their resignations. It was likely due to the sort of a scandal where Bishop Barron, he kind of took the side of this one employee, this bodybuilder employee, but this situation, I don't know, it's not a good look for Barron, but I don't really feel like they did a whole lot of things wrong. Like there was allegations about this guy harassing people, and Bishop Barron kind of did an investigation, and the board of directors got rid of him. So I don't really know. The modernists are really attacking Bishop Barron for this, and I don't know. Anytime the modernists are outraged, I'm always skeptical. I mean it's just how it is. But then anyway, Bishop Barron was named right after that news was shortly after that news, because that news was released within the past past few weeks maybe. Bishop Barron was named bishop of an obscure Minnesota diocese. I don't mean that to be offensive to the people there. It's just a very small diocese in Minnesota. The Diocese of Winona, Rochester. I don't think I've even ever heard of those cities. And this was on Thursday. So I watched the Taylor Marshall video with Eric Sammons, and what it was, I guess they sort of painted it as a debate, like did Bishop Barron, was this a promotion for him or a demotion? And I think I kind of take the side where it's probably a promotion, because Bishop Barron, I guess he said that he was going to continue to spend time working on Word on Fire, so he's not going to give 100% of his time to the diocese. So I don't know that I'd be really excited about that, or if I were in the diocese. I also wouldn't be excited that there is a reasonable hope that all are saved, but that's a side note. I think it is, in a way, Bishop Barron probably even sees it as a promotion himself. Um, oh, we don't think we're obscure. We'd rather not have him. Yeah, didn't mean to offend anyone by that comment, but I think that this is sort of a promotion, because I think that they have the option to decline to resign, or not to resign. I think they have the option to decline being appointed to a bishop of a diocese. So Bishop Barron accepted. So I think this was a promotion. If you want to hear more on the subject, you can listen to Taylor Marshall's, or watch Taylor Marshall's video where he interviews Eric Sammons. I don't think, I mean, anything, and I kind of did the clickbait thing too with this video. Anything with Bishop Barron's name in the title gets people to click on it usually. And that's the same thing about Taylor Marshall. Bishop Barron is not, he's a very famous, he's probably the most famous bishop in the United States in terms of like people, like name recognition. I mean, you know, we in the United States, like, we're fans of Strickland, some of the things that he does, but I don't think outside of the traditional Catholics and the modernists who are repulsed by the Catholic faith, I don't think Strickland's not super popular. Anyway, go moving to Australia. So they had some kind of plenary council. Draft proposals circulated by officials of a plenary council underway in Australia include a call to increase lay participation in church life and governance, in part by petitioning the Vatican to allow lay people to preach the homily at Mass. Proposed measures also include a call for more frequent use of a communal form of the sacrament of penance, despite strict canonical limitations of its use. If adopted by the plenary council, these proposals would see the Church in Australia asking the Vatican for dispensations from canon law governing the liturgical discipline of the Universal Latin Church. This article was from The Pillar. And that last paragraph, that last sentence, I just read, that's really important, because the Church in Australia would be asking for dispensations from canon law. How did we get communion in the hand? It started with a dispensation. Think about that. How did we get anything else? Altar girls, lay readers, I don't know. Did it start with the dispensation? Communion in the hand did, and that's a liturgical abuse. So lay homilies, you're going to get a woman preaching the homily. That's the goal. Australia has some particularly rotten bishops. And quite frankly, when I saw the list of cardinals, I was surprised that there were no bishops from Australia named cardinal. Same with China. I expected there to be a Chinese patriotic cardinal. We're not at that point yet. China needs to up their game and send more money to the Vatican. Maybe that would convince them. It certainly works for saints. Cardinal Sodano, the powerful former Vatican Secretary of State for 2 popes, has died at age 94. Sodano, who has been described as the Vatican's godfather, was mired in controversy over his alleged role in covering up clerical sexual abuse, particularly in the case of Marcial Maciel and ex-Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. Maciel founded the Legionaries of Christ, and there is now a cardinal from that order in the new list of cardinals. And also, there's another McCarrick cardinal in McElroy. So there you go. The connection kind of comes together. Following Sedano's death, the New York Times best-selling author, I think that's giving him too much credit, Frderick Martel, I think he's openly LMNOP, he wrote that the cardinal was La Montgolfiera, a previously unidentified active LMNOP in Martel's book Sodoma in the Closet of the Vatican. Himself an LMNOP, Martel stated, "My role was not to reveal the LMNOP identity of a living priest or cardinal. Now that he is dead, the truth can be written." And so there you go. Now, I think Sedano was in charge of releasing the third secret of Fatima. Just leave it there. Dom Alquin Reed is a liturgical scholar, the prior of a monastic community in the south of France, and a vocal critic of Pope Francis' decision to restrict celebrations of the traditional Latin Mass. This is from the tablet from the UK, because he is in a traditionalist monastery. Dom Alquin is now facing an uncertain future after he was ordained a priest without his bishop's permission, while one other member of his community was ordained to the diaconate. Spokesperson for the Diocese of Fréjus-Toulon, the diocese that he is in, told the tablet that the bishop, Monsignor Dominique Ray, had in no way given his permission for this ordination, nor had he sent a dismissorial letter to the unknown bishop, a letter which is necessary according to canonical rules. As a result, Bishop Ray immediately suspended Dom Alquin, preventing him from celebrating the sacraments. So he's now suspended. Okay. This is what's probably going to happen to more and more traditionalists. So are you prepared? Have you contacted the SSPX? Do you have a plan in play? Plan in place? Plan in play. I don't know where I got that from. As for this bishop, I'm going to move right on to the next story, because this bishop is part of the next story. The Vatican has asked Bishop Dominique Ray of the Diocese of Fréjus-Toulon in France to suspend its ordinations of priests and deacons scheduled for this month after a fraternal visit of the diocese. So this is what communion with the Francis Church looks like. You do what you think Pope Francis wants, and then he suspends your ordinations. There you go. That's obedience for you, right? You just get you do something you don't want to do, and then you get slapped in the face. Why don't you stand on the side of the Catholic faith and church tradition? It's a lot easier. You'll be able to live with yourself a lot easier, especially in your eternal life. Bishop Dominique Ray announced June 2nd that the suspension of the ordinations was requested due to questions that certain Roman dicasteries were asking about the restructuring of the seminary and the policy of welcoming people to the diocese. The bishop said, "We welcome this request with both sorrow and confidence, aware of the trial it represents above all for those who are preparing to receive ordination." The announcement comes after Archbishop Jean-Marc Aveline of Marseille conducted a visitation of the Diocese of Fréjus-Toulon, his suffragan, at the request of the Vatican. Bishop Aveline is among he's among the 21 cardinals, so he is a newly appointed cardinal, named earlier last week. He will be the first French residential prelate to receive the red hat during this pontificate, and so job well done for shutting down a bishop who is semi-traditional, or what should you say, conservative. Bishop Ray, known for his support of the traditional Latin Mass, said that he has already spoken with Cardinal Ouellet, prefect of the Congregation for Bishops, and other offices of the Roman Curia about the questions raised by the visitation. I heard that there were around 6 priests due to be ordained in this diocese, and now that's in question. This is unprecedented, really. I mean, what did he do wrong? Oh, well, they're asking questions. The dicasteries are asking questions about the restructuring of the seminary. What is that? Like, what does that even mean? And then he suspended Dom Alquin Reed. Why? Remove that suspension. Come on, let's just completely just go crazy and reject the Francis Church. It's not hard to do. Kind of is. Kind of is because, everything you've been taught in the Vatican II era. Oh, obedience, blind obedience. We have to, we must obey. Well, that didn't work so well for the the priests under McCarrick, did it? It didn't work so well for the Catholic Church at that time either. Okay, so McCarrick friends have been chosen for the liturgy dicastery. It's the same names that you see in every single Vatican dicastery. Look at this, 22 new members. All right, the dicastery for worship. Um, Cardinal Tagle. Yeah, you've heard his name a billion times. Cardinal Supich. Oh, there you go. Cardinal Farrell. Oh, another McCarrick friend. Cardinal Konrad Krajewski. Cardinal Mario Gretsch. And then Archbishop, soon to be named Cardinal Lazaro Yu Huang Sik from South Korea, prefect of the Congregation for the Clergy. So all these guys are kind of like integrated, I guess. They're all, I don't know. It's pretty pathetic. All right, I don't care anymore about that. You can read about that if you want. World Meeting of Families. Looks like it's opening to LMNOPs. LMNOP families. This issue, so here is what was said on the newdailycompass.com. The issue was evident in the reply that Professor Gabriele Gambino, Undersecretary of the Dicastery for the Laity, Family, and Life, gave to journalist Giuseppe Rusconi, who asked whether this meeting would take place under the banner of Love is Love, whether the phrase rainbow families would be accepted, whether there would be LMNOP flags, and whether the rainbow ones are families, according to you, or are they aggregations of another kind? The question was not far-fetched given what is going on in the Church. See the claims of the German Synod, the ambiguities of the Synod on Synodality, and the new appointment as Cardinal of the Bishop of San Diego, Bishop McElroy. Even if Professor Gambino did not want to answer the questions directly, her words are nonetheless very significant. She begins, this meeting, as we know, is dedicated to the Amoris Laetitia family, which already suggests that something is different from the family as we know it, founded on a marriage between a man and a woman and opening and generating life. And indeed, immediately afterwards, she speaks of promoting a truly inclusive pastoral approach towards all. And she goes on to emphasize the importance of a pastoral approach that knows how to accompany everyone, obviously with an attitude of mercy, that is an attitude of welcoming and accompaniment towards the Father's love. And beyond the themes that will be addressed, the idea is to promote processes of spiritual welcome and discernment. There are no recipes for all situations. The Church's task is to accompany so that each one of us learns to put Christ at the center of our lives in whatever situation we find ourselves. Well, all right, so LMNOPs at the World Meeting of Families, so reject that. Going back to France, Monsignor Guy de Quirmel, Archbishop of Toulouse, wrote a letter to seminarians in France. The letter specifies what had been exchanged the day before during a meeting between the bishop and the seminarians. He said, during this evening, I mentioned my questions during the confirmations of students at La Darade, facing some of you in cassocks and surplices, and I told you that I did not want the seminarians to appear too clerically. The image of these future clerics installed in stalls far from the faithful produces a very clerical image that is not adjusted to your situation as seminarians who remain lay faithful. I therefore specify my wish. The wearing of the cassock is not permitted in the seminary. It is the law in force. I therefore ask that this law apply outside the seminary in the Diocese of Toulouse, including for deacons. So there you go. You can't, he doesn't want Catholic seminarians to be Catholic. Fortunately, it seems like the SSPX has a strong presence in France, and that is your option. Unless, of course, you want to go to their ridiculous clown masses. And I told you I'd get back to this about the Cardinals. Francis will make an August 28 visit to La Aquila, a small city 90 kilometers northeast of Rome, for the city's annual celebration of forgiveness that has only local importance. The trip takes place one day after the August 27th creation of 21 cardinals, when he was scheduled to encounter the cardinals of the whole world, August 28th and 29th. For Francis, this would have been the first such meeting in 7 years. And so everyone says, oh, Cardinal Burke is actually going to have a chance to confront Francis at the Vatican. Not that him or Branmuller actually will, but Pope Francis has not had a face-to-face meeting with Cardinal Burke or Branmuller since the Dubia. And that was how many years ago? 5? Maybe longer. So it has the potential to be a showdown. However, it seems like Francis may be dodging this possible meeting. Also, based on what the rumors are saying, and that doesn't mean that they're true, but based on what has been said, a lot of the cardinals are not happy with Pope Francis. I think the Germans want him to be more extreme, and the Catholics want him to be Catholic. I mean, it's kind of a nice, reasonable explanation or expectation of a pope, right? So that is that. Okay, Living Purgatory, thanks for joining the live chat. I'm in Minnesota. We don't think we're obscure. Yeah, I didn't mean any offense by that. We'd rather not have Barron. I didn't know who Bishop Barron was until I found out we were to be inflicted by him. Well, I'll tell you what, you're one of the few. Because if you're on YouTube, you'll see a video pop up. Recommended video, Bishop Barron. Thanks for joining us, Patty. Minnesota extremist New Church Barron will be in his element. I'll tell you what, they have a rising Bishop Cozzens in Minnesota as well. He's the one that's really spearheading this Eucharistic revival, or what is it, a Eucharistic Congress or something like that. Cardinal Supich has a hand in it too, but I don't... Cardinal Supich, does he care about anything Catholic? I mean, he's really just there as a figurehead to make sure that they don't get too Catholic, I would imagine. Bishop Cozzens is kind of a rising celebrity too. He's a bishop in a small diocese in Minnesota, from what I understand. He was originally the auxiliary. So him and Barron, they're kind of rising their way up the ranks. Slowly. It's going to take a little while, but they're young. I mean, they'll get their chances, maybe. Bishop Barron is certainly... What did he say? He talked about Pope Francis's views on capital punishment. And he says Pope Francis has an eloquent ambiguity. No. No, but I think like the Vatican II generation is all about ambiguity, because that's what you get. That's what you get when you read the documents. They're awesome. I don't know about that. I don't know so much about that. I think they're, well, a little bit ambiguous, maybe a lot ambiguous, and contradictory in some cases. So, okay, that's all I have for you. This has been EVTN News. Thank you so much for watching. We are the laity. We will not be silent.